Welcome to the CyberJA podcast, the place where we discuss all things cybersecurity and GRC. I am Richard Perry, your cybersecurity and GRC enthusiast. The aim of this podcast is to provide a meaningful value-added platform via which upcoming cybersecurity professionals like yourself can gain insights from various topics covering cybersecurity and GRC that will enable them to become professionals that the industry demands. Stay tuned for what next on the CyberJA podcast.
All of us, I believe, at some point in our career journey need a sense of direction. And personally, I believe the best approach is to connect with someone in a similar field who can share their experiences with you so that you're better able to understand their perspective, their challenges, the way that they actually navigated their journey through life. So joining us today on the CyberJA podcast is an information security professional with experience in cybersecurity, external auditing, and third-party vendor risk management, among other job roles. Jonalea Gaalema, welcome to CyberJA.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here today.
Great, and I look forward to the conversation. No doubt you have a lot of experiences that you want to share with persons who are definitely seeking that guidance with building their career moving forward within the cybersecurity space. What would you like to share with us about the genesis of your career? I mean, for sure, telling us a little bit about yourself, for sure.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, you pronounced my name perfectly. My name is Jonalea. I live in Texas. I work in IT audit at Shellman, and I've had quite the transition into cybersecurity. It's been a whirlwind, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon either.
Great. Definitely at the pace at which things are evolving within cybersecurity, talking about generative AI, talking about AI, talking about quantum computing. So many things are actually happening. So it's a crazy, world that they would say within cybersecurity. And for sure, then this is where we as professionals, once we garner the necessary experience, it's always good when we can actually give back to help other persons who are actually trying to get in the industry who need that guidance amidst this noise so that they can actually tailor their skills to be as effective and actually get to the various roles or job roles that they actually want within the cybersecurity space. But the question,
sure, absolutely.
Yes, sure. So one of the questions I have for you is, how did you actually get started within cybersecurity? What stimulated you? What was the catalyst behind you getting into this male-dominated space?
That's a great question. As you're probably aware, my background was more business management, small business operations, and a variety of different roles. And while I love business, I really wanted to see some of those tangible skills that I saw as really desired and sought out after in the market. And so just kind of started studying on my own and seeing, hey, does this appeal to me? Do I like it? Do I have an aptitude for it? Do I want to continue going? So I did a lot of self-studying over the course of almost for nearly a year. And I said, hey, this is for me. I really enjoy it. I do love continual learning, and there's not a better way to describe what this industry requires. And so I made that pivot really a couple of years back of studying towards IT and then more security focused, and made that transition and still studying probably 5 days a week even now.
Well, tell me about it as it relates to studying. I mean, when it comes down to cybersecurity, it's one of those industries that is very demanding in terms of keeping abreast with all the changes, the technologies, and at times it can be very overwhelming in terms of keeping abreast. So that in of itself is a challenge, but for sure we have to find those creative ways to keep developing and building our skill sets. And it's so ironic that I have spoken with a number of persons within the industry in terms of pivoting. Many persons, I mean, let's say 90% of the persons that I've actually spoken with, it's cybersecurity was not something that they initially started out with on their minds. Circumstances actually triggered that pivoting, that change, and that merger. I mean, I spoke with someone yesterday that was actually in the arts. So can you imagine transition from the arts into cybersecurity?
Very different, yeah.
That's so different. But nevertheless, this tells me that, or tell persons that, regardless of your industry, where you're coming from, once you have that aptitude, that mindset, then you can actually make that transition by simply connecting, reaching out to persons on this platform as we're doing to find out what it is that they're doing, as I always say to persons, so that you can better understand what is involved. And in light of that, can you take us along your journey in terms of your job roles, your responsibilities, what is involved in the things that you do as a professional within the industry, so that person can actually say, yes, this is something that I see Jonalea doing that I want to do as well.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because I think that is one of the things that people that are looking to transition or begin their career can struggle with, as there are so many different routes and roles, and there's so many good things to learn, and so it can be difficult to narrow into that. So as far as my role in external audit, we are performing attestations for companies that are looking to get maybe your SOC 2 attestation, or your ISO frameworks, or PCI compliant. And so we're going into a company, we're assessing their environments, their infrastructure, their processes against the controls that they've stated that they have in place. And we're taking a look and making sure that their processes reflect the controls that are in place. So it has been a great place to get a lot of exposure, because in external audit, you're seeing a lot of different client environments. So whether that's a small or medium-sized business, or an enterprise client, startups or mature companies, you're getting exposure to a lot of different processes and technologies that these companies are working with. It's one thing that I've really enjoyed about it.
Awesome. And just to continue along that line, one of the challenges for many persons is that, how do you create the experience, or how were you able to gain the necessary skill set to do the job function that you're actually carrying out at this point in time? Was there a particular certification path, or were you, I mean, enrolled in certain boot camps, or what was it exactly?
Sure. Again, great question, because there are different paths into the field. I think some of the people that are either come from an accounting, or because of the audit processes, or a technological or cybersecurity background. And so either of those components can really help. Ideally, all of those, because you want to have the experience with the audit process, and then also the understanding of the types of environments and infrastructures that you're looking at. As for me, I had a few certifications. I kind of just went through the traditional A+ Network Plus, Security Plus, and then I was studying for the CISA by the time that I entered the industry. So that's the Certified Information Audit certification, and that specifically relates to the work that I'm doing today. So I'm a big proponent of, if certifications can help you in the role that you're going for, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing that you need, or that means that you're an expert in it, but it shows that it helps you, the education that you're gaining in that field. And then I think a lot of the soft skills and the willingness to show that you're willing to study and learn and continue to continue to grow and just having that drive and that desire. I think that hiring managers, that's important to them. And then that's another factor that they look at besides the background or the education that you have.
Awesome. And know those persons for sure within your peer, your organization, persons who have actually have that strong relationship, have known you for a period of time, and would have seen you excel within your career path. But for sure, like many of us, you would have had a number of challenges along the way. Things were not well, for me, it wasn't. It wasn't a straight line. Success wasn't a straight line, and it has never been a straight line. So can you share in terms of the difficulties, some of those challenges that you have actually had so far in your career, and how it is that you have actually managed to overcome those to excel in your growth as a professional?
Sure. I think one of the biggest, probably most obvious challenges is that I didn't have the background in IT and security. I didn't have the degree specifically focused in those domains. And so when I'm looking at people that were literally building computers at 10 years old, or were, had network and systems admin experience, probably such as yourself, that was daunting to say, I don't have that background. And, how am I going to match up to those type of people? And what I learned through talking to great mentors and just time in the industry is that I didn't have to be them. They had a different path. There were other roles that I could that either were aligned with my skill sets or of interest to me, and that my background and my interests were also going to play into that and support that. And it is overwhelming. There's so many other people that are doing great things, but there's a lot of room in the industry, and there's a lot of direction that you can go. That's not just one linear path, as you said. A lot of us have had different paths, came from different angles, and just, I think, getting a better understanding of the different types of roles out there. I mean, when I first started and when I was starting to look for roles, I thought that you became a stock analyst. And I thought that was the one entry into cybersecurity and information security. And I had a peer along the same time. We got in the industry at the same time, and she did become a stock analyst, and she's doing amazing. But I realized that wasn't the only way into the industry, and that wasn't the only role in the industry, and that there was a place for me, and a place that was like perfectly made for me, really.
You have mentioned a number of important points here, but one of the things that actually jumps out is that issue of imposter syndrome. And I always mention to persons that when you decide to get into cybersecurity or just about any career path, it doesn't matter. You will always find persons who are at this level. Some persons are at that level. Some persons are at this level. Some persons are going to be very, very expert, experienced. But the thing about it is that they were at a point where they actually knew nothing. So one of the things that persons actually allow at times to make it challenging for them is the fact that they try to look at other person's profile, their certifications, their many years of experience, their achievements, and trying to align or trying to be like those persons. There's nothing wrong in aspiring to be like, but you cannot walk in the same shoes as someone else. Each of us have to create our own journey, and that is very important. So even trying to pivot along the path of cybersecurity, then it's very important that you, as I always say to persons, never try to look at getting 20 certifications. There has to be an evaluation or assessment of why. Why am I doing this? Why am I getting this? What's the application of this? Assessing your current state, your current life, in terms of your age. What can you do between this time to when you decide to retire? All of these factors must be taken before you actually enter into a particular part, before actually assessing what makes sense. So those are very important points that persons share with me from time to time in terms of those challenges that they have to face, that they have actually mentioned. to a great extent.
And that's so
So
valuable because there are so many wonderful things to learn. And I think a lot of us that have that drive and that curiosity, we want to learn it all. And, maybe someday we keep adding to that, but you can get kind of overwhelmed or maybe lack of direction if you're trying to if you don't kind of chart a course of action, say, okay, here's my goal. It may shift. There may be some adjustments along the way, but kind of having that plan, because in the beginning it's very daunting saying, well, I want to learn about this and I want to learn about this and I want to learn about this technology. And then you find maybe you're really spinning your wheels and you don't really feel like you've made progress in any one because you're looking at 6 different areas at the same time. So that's been something that I did not understand at the beginning, that I've learned along the way and try to pass along to others as well, because there's so many good things out there to learn and we want to learn it, don't we?
I totally understand. I mean, I too experienced that same situation, trying to spread myself so wide. And at the end of the day, it's almost like, put it this way, it's very good to know a lot about a little. I mean, a little bit, or whichever the case is. I'm trying to have understanding of many things. But at the end of the day, you have to zone in on those areas that you can actually excel at, that you can actually use to provide value to both yourself and the companies or organizations that you work with along the way. And that is one of the reasons I always say to persons that do not get confused with all the various certification, the job roles. Try to find someone who fits the career path that you want, and to understudy these individuals, to build relationship with these individuals so that you can actually learn the things that can actually get you to that level of, I mean, where it is that you really want to be in your career journey. One of the questions I have for you is, what have you done? I mean, how have you managed to stand out and defy the odds in terms of your skill set? I mean, that you have actually acquired to make you valuable to the marketplace.
Sure. I think that, as we discussed, there's a lot of people doing a lot of great things. And I think the willingness to learn, and in some cases that means getting certifications, again, just to show that you're continuously learning, that you're training, that you're trying to build, is one aspect. Being willing to ask questions. For me, networking, going to events, going to conferences, hearing about what other people are doing, hearing about other people's roles has been a very valuable part of my journey. And then in my actual job role, just it's that, I think that, again, those kind of the soft skills, those willingness to ask questions, to volunteer, to jump in, and to recognize that, sure, there are going to be people that have been doing what you've been doing longer, that have more experience, that may know it inside out, but just keep showing your desire, your willingness to give your best every day, and to jump in and help wherever you can. I think those traits can take you pretty far.
Awesome. And for sure, definitely, those are very great points to end on. I mean, this was indeed a very value-added conversation. I know that, I mean, our listeners will definitely find a lot of insights, a lot of value from what they have actually shared with us today. And for sure, it was a pleasure having you, and also having this conversation. The fact that you have actually taken the time to share with us on Cyber GRC podcast, I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you again for having me.
Great,
Look forward
definitely.
to the next time.
Sure, likewise. Guys, until then, stay tuned, stay connected for all future recordings on the Cyber GA show with me, your host, Richie Perry.